Anyway, it's brilliant, isn't it? That's the way it should be. It's the way it should be. That walk, when you get to the end, and you talk about talking to people who may have mental health issues and challenges, and about really talking to them. Not just settling for how are you? Because it's a funny question, isn't it? Really, how are you today? And these are things that we talk. They're just standard questions in Britain. You fill your car up at a petrol station and you start talking about the weather, and you don't know why. It's a complete stranger, but there must be other things to talk about. But let's avoid them and talk about the weather, pay for the fuel, and disappear. And I think with our friends and family and even a stranger, we say, "How are you?" and we don't really wait for the answer, I think, and we move on.
Well, you do that, you see, but people like me don't do that. Well, if we do it, it's what we call masking. So we pretend to be normal in that way. But the I can't do small talk.
Right.
So one of the things I've learned, again, it's all about management and control, is that when I'm working, I don't do breakfast. I don't do breakfast because I don't want to, at the beginning of a day, with my colleagues, go through the process of talking about nothing. I'm not interested in Strictly Come Dancing. I don't care who got voted out. I'm not interested in football. I don't care who won. And I don't want to sit at a breakfast table, therefore, and feel compelled to be part of a conversation which, from my perspective, is meaningless. Now, I know that might sound antisocial and it might sound a little bit harsh, but it's better for me to tell you that and to not go to breakfast than it is to go there and eventually things go wrong. So, again, that sort of small talk doesn't really happen. Now, if people do it all the time, they say, "Hi, Chris, how are you doing?" And I say, "Well, actually, I'm not doing that well because I've just taken my multivitamins and they always make me feel sick. So I'm feeling a little bit nauseous at the moment. And then I woke up at 4:15 this morning and couldn't manage to get back to sleep. So I've been listening to a podcast about, if you say, 'How are you?' That's a question that needs an answer. It's not like, 'Oh, no, I'm all right, thank you.' Because my mind doesn't do the 'I'm all right, thank you.' It answers your question. And you don't want all that answer, do you? You're not really interested in my multivitamins or what podcast I've been listening to. So people, again...
Well, maybe we should be, though. That's what I'm learning here. Maybe we should be.
Well, my colleagues have learned not to ask me those questions because I don't want to answer them. It's irrelevant. And secondly, they don't want to know the answer. So one of the ways of easing into the day is that I don't need food in the morning, so I can skip breakfast. So that's one of the things that I do. And that's not...
You've got a philosophy on food, I think, was it?
Yeah.
Is it sleep when you're dead and eat just before, is it?
Yeah, no, there's more important things to do than sleep and eat. It is in my life. Anyway, But so I think that's sort of... that dialogue, if you like, is I've always found it a real burden, and I do everything I can to escape it, really. So again, people will often say, you're not very sympathetic, or you don't engage, because I don't ask how people are, or those sorts of things. And the reason I don't ask is because I'm not really interested. I'm interested in many things about people that I work and live with, but those things don't really compute for me.
It's an interesting one because it makes me think that it's small talk, how are you? But it's not small talk at all. It's a big question, isn't it?
When it comes to the mental health thing, what I say in the programme is that, if you know that someone is in trouble, and we do know that when they're in trouble, we know it because we make wider observations, or we talk about it, or we talk about it to their friends and their family, and they explain the situation. And then we have this terrible habit, I think, of saying to that person, "How are you?" And they say, "Oh, I'm fine, thank you." And you say, "Oh, okay, that's good. Let's have another pint." But they're not fine. And you mustn't... The key thing is that it's that point that the ball is in your court, not theirs. You've asked them a question. They've dodged the answer. You know it. And I think that particularly when it comes to men's mental health, because we know, again, that men generally, don't want to stereotype, but generally behave differently when it comes to sort of mental health issues. They don't talk about it, and we have terribly high suicide rates in two age cohorts of men in the UK, desperately high, highest in Europe. So when you have a male friend who you know is in trouble, they've lost their job, they're split up with their partner, or whatever it is causing them distress, and they say, no, I'm fine, let's just have another drink. Don't let them say they're fine and have another drink. You know, you need to get them to discuss that issue and get them to find some help. And that you may not be the help. I mean, I think I've got to be really clear here that, you know, through my own periods of mental health issues, my friends and family tried very, very hard to deal with those issues, to, you know, initiate repair and recovery, but they simply weren't trained to do it. And getting access to healthcare professionals when people are seriously mentally ill is absolutely essential, in my opinion. I'm not an expert, I'm just giving you my opinion, but, you know, and of course that is a struggle given the NHS that we have today and the under-resourced nature of that. But we should be, again, you know, part and parcel of my campaigning is to make sure that we do invest economically in training, you know, top quality healthcare, mental healthcare professionals, and making sure that they're accessible to people without undue, you know, weights or